Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mike Kollin at crackedfemalecode.com. Alright, it's 4:51 a.m. I just got back from a run. Yes, I'm serious. And it is awesome outside, the full moon. Alright, so today we're going to talk about sperm wars. Yep, that's right, I said sperm wars. There's one really important piece I want to talk to you about that came from this book. It's a book on human biology, human behavior, that I think is really, really important. At the time, it was groundbreaking. It was in 1991, I think, when I was in a class called Human Sexuality in college, and it was a requirement for us to read it. I do recommend, it's a good read, and it'll help you understand female behavior a lot better and human behavior. It's by Robin and Baker, and if I remember right, it was a husband and wife who wrote this book, and they were both, let me see if I can get off the back, published to acclaim controversial a decade ago. Sperm Wars is a revolutionary thesis about sex that turns centuries-old biological assumptions on their head. Its thesis that nature steers men to obsess over women while women seek the best genetic input on offer from potential sexual partners, meaning they are meant to sleep around, is now widely accepted. I know, right? Kind of shocking. So it says 10% of children are not fathered by their fathers. We now know that is much higher. Less than 1% of a man's sperm is capable of fertilizing anything. The rest is there to fight off other men's sperm. That's one of the things we're going to talk about. Smart vaginal mucus encourages some sperm but blocks others. A woman is far more likely to conceive through a casual fling than through sex with her regular partner. Okay, I did make a mistake. I might be getting it mixed up with one other book. So it says here Robin Baker. I always thought it was a husband and wife. I thought the professor said that, but apparently his name is Robin Baker. He's a best-selling author in the field of sexual biology, whose books include Baby Wars and Sex in the Future from 1980 to 1996. He taught zoology at the School of Biological Sciences at the University of Manchester. Now here's the interesting thing. Notice it said zoologist. So Desmond Morris wrote the book, The Human Zoo, which I highly recommend. That book blew my mind. And he's got another book called The Naked Ape. He actually has more books, but he's great because essentially, let me see if it's in the back real quick. It might actually say it real quick. Let's see. No, not on this book. He started out, I believe, as a zoologist. He used to study animals, okay? And then he started to notice the similarities between animal behavior and human behavior. Now, let me say something real quick, so before I forget it. There's something that I think shocks a lot of men. I think now, because of social media and YouTube and stuff, we have more access to information. I think most of you probably know this, but I'm telling you, back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, we did not.
Very, very wealthy little city.
Now, I started saying this to people before I actually heard it. I think it might be from Sperm Wars that I read it. It might have been The Naked Ape or the Zoology, or not Zoology, but the Human Zoo book from Desmond Morris. But regardless, I started to realize that women cheat a lot more than men. And I started questioning girls that it was either in high school or just after high school. Some of them would admit it, and they would just say, well, we're just smarter than men. Men are just dumb. They'll just have sex with anyone without seeing if they're cool, if they're going to tell on them, etc., etc.
At about 8 o'clock at night.
I do not remember where I got this information. And the U.S. government, they used to do a study every single year, all the way back to I think it goes back to 1945 or something like that. And it turns out that they've known that women cheat on men much more than men cheat on women. Now, don't get all angry. Seriously. You know what I find out the men that get angry? It's the men that don't know how to pick up on women. Okay, let's start right there. This is important. When I started to learn NLP and understanding the mating system and the right brain language and all that stuff, and started communicating and using all these things I've learned and understanding what makes a woman feel loved and all that stuff, I started getting dates. I started getting numbers. Women started to approach me and would offer me their number or ask me, say, hey, let me take you out. I'll pay for dinner. This happens to me a lot, by the way. And Adam saw that. Adam was, I've got a series of videos. I'm just going to upload them, but I've got Actually, you know what? I'm probably going to start uploading them after this video now that I think about it. Okay, so before I understood women, okay, now here I was, the typical guy. I was a smart little kid thinking, okay, I'm going to do really good in school so I can make money when I get out of college. And that way I can get a hot girl. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to be really good in sports so I can get the girl. I'm going to be a tough guy. I'm going to learn how to fight. I'm going to take martial arts. I'm going to do boxing, kickboxing, football, wrestling. I'm going to be tough as fuck. And I ended up benching 365 pounds for 2 solid reps. I was a tough dude, man. That did not get the girls. I was a damn captain of the football team and wrestling team. And we were section champions. And I went to the state championship in wrestling. And I had one girlfriend who treated me like dirt. Now remember, it's the right brain that turns women on, and the right brain is the social brain, which means that's where you get your social power from, and that's what turns women on. Now you might think, yeah, well, so-and-so is rich, he's got social power. No, he doesn't. Social power is a right brain function. A lot of very rich guys, women do not respect. They look at him like, man, you're an idiot, because he's in his left brain. It just irritates the shit out of women. Social power is when you could have no money, no car, walk into a room full of wealthy men, and all the women will start to talk to you. Even the men will talk to you. People will listen to you. There's a sense of, what's the word? It's social power is what it is. So if you have to rely on your height, your looks, money, that's not social power. So in high school, my girlfriend, after the second year, just started treating me like shit. And I mean, it was fucking horrible. And it was embarrassing too. And she seemed to enjoy it quite a bit. And I cried a lot. I cried a lot. And I couldn't get any other girl. I was the same guy. I looked good. I was in great shape and all that stuff. Captain of the football team, blah, blah, blah. All the bullshit that we think women are going to go for, which they don't, by the way. Now, if I was by the way, this is me riding my bike on the Golden Gate Bridge, if I didn't tell you in the past video. Now, here's the deal. I noticed a lot. Now, when I got up to kickboxing, I started getting around professional fighters. And I noticed this one guy was a California professional champion. And he had a very successful business. So this guy was making like $200,000 per fight or more. I mean, this guy was like making some serious bank. So he'd fight 2, sometimes 3 times a year. So the guy was bringing in about $500,000 per fight, or not per fight, but per year. And then his business was bringing in, I don't remember how much, but he was just, the guy had money. He was 6'3". He was a great looking guy in perfect shape. And he was undefeated for like, I think all the way back to his amateur years. And his girlfriend or his wife was fucking fat, and I mean, I don't like being mean. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get the point across. She was a roly poly, and I mean, this was a round woman. I mean, round. Oh, and by the way, he modeled tuxedos part time. I am not kidding. This was a good-looking, confident, strong, athletic, famous, wealthy dude. And I remember when I met his wife, she was a complete bitch to him. And I mean, every time I saw her with him, she... And I was like, I'm just going, what the fuck am I missing here? I mean, this guy was a professional fighter, a champion, making lots of money in 2 different ways. Good looking, freaking tall. And I'm thinking, what am I... And he wasn't a quiet guy. He was a confident, take charge kind of guy. And I remember one time I walked into my coach. Jacob Stitz-Duran was my coach, by the way. And I just was kind of stunned. And he looked at me. He started laughing. He goes, I know, huh? And so then there was another fighter who was a world champion. North American North American champion. Professional champion. And his girlfriend was the same way. I mean, she was greasy. God, I'm not trying to be mean here, but guys, these weren't even average women, and I didn't fucking get it. And then I looked at myself. I was dating this Asian girl. Now she had a really hot body. Her body was smoking. I mean, fucking hot. But her face, it was about a 4. I'm serious. I'm not trying to be mean. And she treated me like fucking shit. So now this is when I was ranked #1 in the nation in kickboxing, when I was in perfect shape, blah blah blah. And I tell you what, okay, you want to know why I was with her and with my high school girlfriend? Because I couldn't get another girlfriend. So when she cheated, or my buddy's wife cheated, I was just, God damn, I used to get so fucking pissed off. But let me tell you, something changed. When I really learned how to pick up on women, talk to women, get sex with women, all that went out the window because I wasn't desperate. I wasn't stuck on one woman. When you're stuck on one woman, you bitch, you moan, you complain because you don't have any choice. But the tables turn when all of a sudden you are talking to women. There is a huge dynamic that happens. You stop feeling desperate, okay? And women then start to approach you. They start to talk to you. They start easily handing out their numbers. A lot of times they'll go, hey, I got to go, but here's my number. Call me. They'll do stuff like that. Your whole mentality changes. Now, let's get to sperm wars, and you're going to learn some things that are probably going to upset you. All right, let's go to, let's see. 10% of children are not fathered by their fathers. It's actually more than that. And I think we know that now. This was back in the 90s or early 80s or late 80s. Less than 1% of a man's sperm is capable of fertilizing anything, blah, blah, blah. Smart. All right, that's it. So less than 1% of men's sperm is capable of fertilizing anything. The rest is there to fight off other men's sperm. Now, when I read that in the book, I was like, what the hell? Even our own biology knows that women cheat. Alright, so there's actually positive reasons for all this stuff, okay? When you understand a biological level, your anger kind of goes down. So here's the deal. A lot of times it uses a story. I don't remember if it was a king or a sailor or something, but this guy basically would have sex with his wife 2, 3, 4 times before he took off to go to cross the ocean or go to another country or wherever he went. And he was going to be gone for a week or a month or whatever. So he would inseminate her, and believe it or not, but there's sperm in there that literally fight against another man's sperm. And they basically position themselves kind of like in front of I forget the name of the entrance, but in front of the egg, I'm going to say. And they fight the freaking other sperm off. They kill each other, literally like a war. Now, when I first read this, I was in college. I was probably 19 or something. I was like, what the fuck? This is like, it was kind of gross. And I'm like, oh, God. So, here's the reason why. Okay, so now, actually, I should probably get to the next one before I give this. So, here's another factor. Okay, so when I was a kid, I remember these older men, I think I was with my stepdad, and we'd go to the bar once in a while. So back then, as long as you were with your parent, they could take their kid. And it was during the daytime, it was lunchtime, where we were actually sandblasting my BMX bike. This was in Marquette, Wisconsin. I think I'm saying that right. I was a little kid. Literally, I was probably like 9 years old. And we were taking a break, so we're sandblasting because the guy that worked there said, hey, you sandblast it and I'll come back and I'll paint it later. And I was like, okay. And so then me and my dad went to the bar to get some lunch, and he, got some hamburgers and fries, and he got a beer. And I remember some of the men would say some of the crudest shit. I was a little kid. I'll give you one. One of the guys said, he goes, when you get a girlfriend, you got to give it to her really good at least once every 4 days. Now I was embarrassed, and I'm like, shut up. He goes, no, you have to, because otherwise she's going to bitch and moan and complain. She's going to be a pain in the ass. So here's what happens. Inside the woman's body, okay, really quick, when a girl's a little girl, her system is complete, just like a car battery. As long as both cables are on the positive and negative, the circuit is complete. So when she has her hymen, the circuit is complete. So the electricity goes down the right brain through that nervous system, then comes up the other way through the other nervous system. And if she has her hymen, the circuit's complete, so she feels complete. When that hymen breaks, now she has an emptiness in her womb, and she feels that emotionally. The worst feeling in the world for a woman is to feel emotionally empty. And that is what my course does. It teaches you how to fulfill her emotionally so she feels complete. If she feels that with you, she's going to stick with you. She's going to make love to you. She's going to be happy. If not, you're going to go down the fate of all these other men in the book Sperm Wars and what I'm about to tell you. So here's the deal. what happens is now she has this hole in her womb instead of the connection. Okay, so when she starts feeling this emptiness inside, this drives her to want to like fill that hole. And I'm serious, because it's not just physical, it's an emotional. If she feels empty emotionally, trust me, it will drive her nuts. Now, there's a couple ways that you can complete her. Okay, number one, get her pregnant. Okay, it's probably not an option unless you want kids right now. Now here's the deal. When a woman conceives, almost the moment she conceives, some women will tell you, like, I knew exactly when I conceived, because they said, I felt complete. I felt something different. And what it is, the emptiness is gone. So when a woman is pregnant, I'm going to ask you a question. When there's a child inside, whether it's 1 month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 months old, inside her womb, inside her body, how many people is that? Just use basic math, don't complicate it. How many people is that? If you said 2, you're wrong. Now we're doing female math here, by the way. And believe it or not, but this is actually going to make sense even though it doesn't. To a woman, it feels like one complete person. See, have you ever noticed that women, like in that movie with Tom Cruise, that says to, I think her name's Rebecca something, I can't remember her name, but he says, you complete me. Well, he said that because she used to say that to him, and women always say that shit to men. And here's why. You got to understand, when that hymen breaks and her vagina opens up, she feels a sense of emptiness. Now, it's not just down there. It's connected to her nerves, and she feels it emotionally. Now, it feels like her heart is empty, and it's like almost like when my best friend died, it felt like somebody reached in and ripped out my soul. I felt emotionally empty for freaking years. I cannot explain how horrible that felt. I just felt like something in my heart was gone. Now, when I was saying that to a woman, she goes, yes, that's how we feel when we walk around after puberty. And she said, Michael, we will do anything to fill that hole, to fill that emptiness. And this is why a lot of women eat a lot of food and gain weight, because it kind of puts pressure on that area, and it kind of almost completes them, and then they feel like a whole human being. But it never does, and that's why they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So you have to understand something. When women go through this, listen closely, they don't feel like a complete whole human being. They feel like a part of them is missing and it's somewhere else. And they need to find it, and they need to put it back inside, and then they'll be complete. And then emotionally, they'll be fine. They'll be balanced. They won't be up and down. See, this is why a lot of times women get emotional, they get angry, they cry. It's because they have this horrible feeling inside, and it's like they don't know what to do. They don't know how to get rid of it. So number one way to get rid of it is for her to be pregnant, okay? Now here's the funny thing. After a woman gets ripped open by the baby, sometimes my sister did this literally an hour later. She goes, oh, I want another one. I'm like, no. And I mean, you got to understand, she was screaming bloody murder when she was giving birth. And I looked at my mom, and my mom laughed at me because, I mean, my sister was telling me, like, please, Michael, make it go away. I mean, I was holding her hand. It was horrible. And I tell you what, that's why I never got a woman pregnant. I was like, I will never, ever fucking do that to a woman. And here she is, I think it was like an hour later or 30 minutes. It wasn't much longer. And she goes, I want another baby. They're so cute. And I'm literally like, I literally go, no, you're not going to do this. No way. And my mom, she starts laughing at me. I'm like, I don't know. And I looked at her like, what are women crazy? She goes, Michael, it's just the way we are. And another thing she said, it's her hormones shifting into bonding hormones to make her bond with the baby, to protect it, and to do everything in her power to feed it and make sure it's taken care of, etc. If you guys understood the emotional turmoil that women go through, it is hormonal as fuck. The emptiness, the emotional emptiness, the wanting a baby again, it's their chemicals kicking in. It's Mother Nature taking over her body. It's like she's been hijacked, taking over her body and her emotions. So here's the deal. If you have sex with a woman, rub your hands together really fast. I'm going to do it right now. keep doing it. So your hands get warm. Now your hand's skin is very thick, but the skin that's inside, or the tissue that's inside her vagina, is very thin. So when you have intercourse, you go in and out, it rubs that, and what happens is blood begins to swell up, fluid begins to swell up into the vagina to protect it, just like your skin. Like my hands are red because blood went to that area. And what it does, it swells up. So after you have sex, when you pull out, the inside of her vagina, the swelling pushes together, and now she's connected, and now she feels complete. Now there is a caveat though. So my ex-girlfriend, my Asian girlfriend, Laotian girlfriend, she would come over late at night, like 1 in the morning, and sneak in. Sorry, the heater went on. I had to turn it off. So then I'd let her in and stuff, and I'd fall asleep. And then the next morning, now this is when I was competing in kickboxing. I was going to college, and I had a job. So I was like going around the fucking clock. So I think I woke up at 6 in the morning or 6:30, whatever, jumped in the shower, ate some food, and I'm like about to run out the door, and she's like, "Baby, I don't feel connected." And she's crying, and I'm like, "Baby, I love you." And I thought she meant like emotionally or, personally or whatever. And I gave her a big hug and a kiss. I go, "Baby, I love you." I go, "Baby, I gotta go to work. I'm going to be late." So then she slept over again, and the next morning when I woke up, she's like, "Baby, I don't feel connected." I'm like, "Baby, I'm right here. I love you." And I'm like, "What do you mean, baby? Trust me. I love you." And I hugged her and kissed her again, and she's crying, and I felt bad, but I had to go to fucking work. So then the next day, she just breaks down. So I'm jumping in the shower, throwing my clothes on, shoving some food down my throat. And she's like, "I don't feel connected." And she's just hysterically crying. "Ah!" And I'm like, and now here's what happened. I was teaching this course back then, but this was a lesson. So I teach something called double pictures. It's a symbolic language where she says something symbolically, but she doesn't mean that. She means something deeper, more meaningful. And I'm looking, I go, "You don't feel connected." And I'm thinking, and then I went to the symbolic language. I went, okay, so she says she doesn't feel connected. What could that mean? I went, "Oh, you don't feel connected." She goes, "Yeah." And she kind of smiled, and she, tears were still pouring, but she's like, "Oh, you're finally fucking getting it." Enter John Wick. So then I looked at her and I said, "Oh, so you want to connect?" And she's like, "Yeah, baby." I was like, "All right." So we made love, and I said, "Fuck it." I was going to be 30 minutes late to work, and I fucking, I said, "Fuck it. It's a good excuse." My boss laughed. Because I'd never been late before, ever. So here's what happens. Again, we made sex, and it rubbed her inside, in and out, in and out, in and out, and it made the swelling come together. So for 4 days, she's good to go. So about the 4th day, she's starting to get kind of whiny and cranky again. And then when that guy, back in the 70s, when I was like 9 years old, that old dude said, "You got to give it to a real good wife about once every 4 days, and they're going to be happy." And I was like, "Oh, don't say that." Like all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, wait a minute." That guy actually knew what he was talking about. So number one, when you take my course, you're going to learn how to see all of this stuff that women are doing. The core piece is opening up to your right brain and connecting inside in your body. Now you can tune in and you can receive and feel and be like, "Oh, okay, she's saying this, but she means that." There's a series of things I have to teach you and connect them all together. At first it's a little discombobulating, but it's really not. There's a couple pieces that you'd be like, "Oh, no shit." Like the symbolic language. But the thing is, it's hard to explain until you take the course, because you have to physically do it. I have to walk you through it and show you how to do it over and over and over and over until your brain clicks and goes click, click, whir, whir, and it starts to see it. Then you're like, "Oh, I'm seeing it now." So it's something that you have to physically experience and or do. Now, here's the really cool thing. So number one, get her pregnant. Number two, have sex with her, which is temporary. And the first one is kind of like, that's a life commitment, having a child. There is a third way which I teach in my course. There's a third way to make her feel this whole and complete feeling. And here's the thing, when she feels that with you, she will have sex with you. In fact, usually women only have sex with guys. It's not because they do this, it's because they're so fucking horny, they're desperate for satisfaction, okay? And then they resent the guy, and then they kind of get sick and tired of it and all that, because the real thing they need is this thing, the third piece that I teach in my course. And again, you have to take the course. It's not something I could teach you in 20 minutes or 30-minute video. Now let's get back to sperm wars. So here's another thing. So I'm going to give a real life example, and then I'm going to go to what sperm wars is teaching. So I had a client, he flew out from Hawaii, and we met in the city. His mom actually owned a boat in the city, which was kind of cool, because I'm like, what's this? He goes, well, this is my mom's boat. I'm like, no shit. It was a pretty big boat. It wasn't massive, but it was a big boat. It had like a bedroom, and then it had like a dining area, and like it was a good sized boat, but it wasn't massive. But it was like you could live on the boat. So instead of renting a hotel and spending all that money, he just stayed on the boat for free. So what happened was he was going back to Hawaii, and the funny thing was I just happened to get, I had another client who was a really high-end travel agent. He got me a free condo, free airfare. He even got me a free rental car. All I had to do was pay for the taxes. And when I told, his name was Trevor, he goes, "Are you sure?" He goes, "I'm going back home the day before that." So he didn't just come out here for me. He stayed with his mom for a while, and they did their thing, whatever. And so he goes, "Dude," he goes, "I got a really good friend, Chris," and he goes, and his girlfriend. He goes, "I want you to meet them," because I was staying on the island at a hotel that was about half a mile down the street from where they were living. Now watch this. So I meet Chris. Chris is a super nice guy. His girlfriend, they're all white, by the way, except Trevor's girlfriend was Japanese. She was an older, richer woman, by the way. And she owned a really high-end fish restaurant where, like, each little slice is, like, literally, I think it was, like, $125 per this freaking slice that wasn't even that big. It was, like, super expensive. So, anyway, so Chris was this tall, white, blonde, blue guy. American, and he was in Hawaii going to, I think it was called, what do you call it, University of Hawaii, getting his master's degree. Now, his girlfriend, I think they even threw it at me, but it went over my head. I heard it, but it didn't click in my brain. And so one night, Chris goes, so me and Chris went out a couple nights. He showed me the really cool places and, the girls. Now, I was probably like, I think I was 29 or 30 or something. I don't remember how old I was. I was a pretty young guy. And so was Chris. They were around 26 years old. So they were all about 4 or 5 years younger than me. And I thought, it's kind of weird. I go, so your girlfriend's cool with you going out to clubs and stuff? He goes, well, yeah. Well, she works all night, so I hang out there a lot. But man, I get really sick and tired of it. So she like, yeah, she's totally cool with it. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought that was kind of weird. Now here's another really weird thing. We went to this really cool club. We were on the dance floor and stuff, and these little girls came up and they started dancing with me. And I'm looking at them like, there's no effing way these girls are freaking 21 years old or even 18. And Chris is like, dude, pick up on them. They're throwing themselves at you. I'm like, no way, dude. Well, here's the thing that I didn't know. Hawaii's laws for the age of consent was, I think he said it was either 15 or it was 16. And I'm like, bullshit. Because he told me the next day, I go, dude, you're so full. I go, dude, you're going to get me thrown in jail. He goes, no. He goes, I'm not kidding, Mike. So I didn't believe him till I came back to California. And he goes, you need to Google different states. Now, I've lived in California, and it's 18. And I always thought it was 18 across the board, all the way, all 50 states. And he's like, no, look it up. And I was like, holy shit. There's some states with the age of consent for the girl, as long as the parents give permission. I think it's 15 or something like that. And I was like, shit, I did not know that. Now, I don't know about now, but this was about 20 years ago. So this whole trip ended up being it was kind of weird, but it ended up being a really, really fun trip. Like, that was the best vacation of my life. Now, here's what unfolds. So then Chris goes, hey, man, before we go out tonight, why don't we go and hang out with my girlfriend at her job for a while, because she hasn't seen me and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. So we went over, then we walk into this place. It was like a club environment, and they had like a bar and stuff, and then we walked to this other room, and I'm like, holy shit. There were these like wooden, not tables, because the walls went all the way down to the floor, the sides or whatever. They're really solid, like kind of like a pool table, but really solid. And I think they even had like a soft, kind of like pool table type top or something, carpet, not carpet, whatever. Now here's the deal. This was a strip club, and I think he said something like that, when I first met her, when we all got together for dinner. She was naked, completely naked, sitting down. How do I explain this? So they had about, I don't know, maybe a dozen or more of these table things where the girls are like, they're sitting on their butt down, their legs, their feet flat, and they're kind of leaning back on their elbows. And they're completely naked, and their legs are spread wide open. And dudes are just hanging around these table things that they're on, talking to them. And when I first walked in, I was like, whoa, what the fuck? What is this? And he goes, oh, you've never been to a place like this? I'm like, dude, I've never even heard of a place like this. And like all these girls are naked and leaning back and completely legs spread. And I'm like, jeez. And these dudes are just talking and looking in their crotch and stuff. And we're walking through, and then we walk to her table. Now, I didn't know that she was one of these girls. I'm assuming she's a hostess or a bartender or something like that. So we walked to this table, and I'm like kind of looking around, and he goes, hey, Mike, say hi to my girlfriend. And I'm like, where is she? He goes, right. And I'm like, oh, geez. And her crotch is right there. I'm like, okay. And I walked around kind of behind her, and they kind of laughed at me. And they go, Chris is like, Mike, it's totally normal. I'm like, it's not really normal for me. So these were the nicest people in the world, clean cut. Like if you were to meet them in person, like they dress very well, and Chris is a good guy. He doesn't do drugs, and she doesn't do drugs at all. And this whole thing just kind of like, whoa, like it was a mind warp. But here's the thing. We went out to a club, and my brain was really spinning. So finally, go like, I don't understand. Like, why is she okay with you going out meeting chicks at these clubs and stuff? He goes, well, Mike, what does she do for a living? She meets fucking dudes who literally pay her money to see her naked. So essentially the rule was you had to, like, every 5 minutes you had to put down like a $5 bill or 10 or something. You couldn't just stand there and talk to her. You had to like kick out money, otherwise the bouncer or whatever would say, hey, you got to leave. Enter John Wick. I'm just being goofy. So this whole thing, my brain, like, I didn't understand this. I mean, hell, my high school girlfriend, if I even looked in the direction of a girl, would just flip the fuck out. And I was just like, man, I'm not, like, my brain didn't get any of this. Now, he said something to me that I'm going to reflect back on Sperm Wars. So he tried to go, well, he said a couple things. And I'm like, yeah, but that's still, I go, dude, she's a freaking female, dude. I go, this isn't like, that, something's not calculating here. So we ended up walking away, going to Denny's about 1 in the morning or something. He goes, all right, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm like, okay, what's the truth? He goes, well, here's what happened. She's on the pill. I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of figure you guys are young. He goes, well, here's the deal. She was on some kind of pill that, there was a certain name in it, and I forget the technicalities or medicine, whatever, but he said, the doctor told me that what it does, it makes her feel like, it tricks her body into believing she's pregnant. And what that's going to cause her mating system to do is to bond with him and to do everything in her power to keep him around, because now she's pregnant. She's going to need a mate to provide food, provide food and protection for her and the child. The problem was she wasn't actually pregnant. So essentially, the pill, whatever this pill was, I'm pretty sure it was specifically this kind. I don't know if all pills do that, but my high school girlfriend, I don't know if this did it to her or not, but it causes them to bond with you. And so they're loyal and faithful. And I said, aren't you worried about her cheating? He goes, no, she always comes home right away, or I pick her up and she never cheats and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, how long have you been together? And they've been together for like 4 years, and they had a great relationship, and she was really cool to him. And it was mind-blowing. Like, I was like, God, this is like the perfect relationship. Here's the other thing. Because she was making a lot of money stripping, she paid for everything. She paid for his entire college degree. She paid for his schooling, books, tuition, paid for their condo they were living, paid for their car, everything. Clothes, food, everything. Now, here's the deal. When a woman does get pregnant, that's exactly what happens. She has this chemical, this hormone, whatever you want to call it, that's released into her system to bond with him, to love him, to nurture him, to make him feel good, which keeps a happy caveman around. And generally, this will last for about 3+ years, okay? So now, another day, me and my stepdad went back to that bar, okay, to get some lunch, etc. And then this man said, it was another old dude. Well, they were probably like 50, I'm going to guess, or 45. To me, that was old. And another guy goes, the one thing about women, it goes about relationships, there's something called the 7-year itch. I'm like, well, what the hell's that? He goes, well, about between the 5th and 7th year, that's about when women will leave you or divorce you, etc. That's when the fighting starts, he said. I'm like, okay. He goes, it generally starts around the 5th, 6th year, and if you can get past the 7-year itch, usually the relationship will last and you'll be long term. Well, I believe I learned this in the book in Sperm Wars, and what it said is, here's the deal. A woman's hormones are going to release that chemical for her to bond and to stay with the guy, to work hard to make him happy, etc., to keep the caveman around to provide and protect. But the problem is, usually the cave woman only had 1 or 2 children, and then what happened is after the youngest child was grown enough, say 3 years old, and it was smart enough, so number one, it could walk and keep up to mommy. See, because when mommy has a 6-month-old and maybe a 1.5-year-old, she's taking care of 2 little infants basically, or children, young children. She needs someone to go hunting food because she can't run when she's 6 months old. 6 months old, 6 months pregnant. She can't chase rabbits and shit. She's going to need someone to provide, otherwise she's going to starve. So what happens is, around the 5th year, they start to bitch. They start to complain. And my last 2 girlfriends, long term, they were both over 4 years. One was 8 years and the other one was about 4.5. Well, that's when the fighting and the arguing started and the yelling and the screaming, and then she started sneaking around and all that bullshit. Because their body essentially is trying to mix DNA. So in the book Sperm Wars, it explains why do women cheat. It's because, all right, you ever heard about like how people, Arkansas gets a bad rap for this, is essentially they talk about people that inbreed like in the South and stuff and all that. Well, the point being is if you inbreed, your children will be born with deformities, or they'll be mentally retarded, and if you really do this for more than one generation, it gets worse and worse as you go along. Now, the reason why Mother Nature is she'll have 1 or 2 kids with one guy, but then she'll have a kid with like another guy. Maybe she's cheating on you behind your back, or maybe she just leaves you after between 5 and 7 years, and she finds another mate, and she has kids with him. What this is doing is it's diversifying our DNA. What this does is it keeps us smarter, it keeps us healthier and stronger, and it also makes our immune system a lot more diverse and strong. I don't remember what year this was, 1940s or 60s, but I think it was some people from the UK, some scientists, biologists, whatever you call them. They found a tribe, I think it was in South America, somewhere down there, and they were a tribe that's never had any contact with any humans at all. So everyone had to be quarantined for a certain amount of time before they were allowed to get on the ship and then go down there, and everyone supposedly was quarantined, but someone had a cold. It was so minor they didn't even realize they had the cold. So they went down there and they talked to this tribe and they interacted with them and stuff, and tried to understand. And this one person had this mild cold, and what it did was it wiped out over half the tribe. And I think the tribe, it was 50,000 or 100,000 people or something like that. Whatever it was, it literally wiped them in half from the common cold. Now, the reason why the other half survived and made it through it is because their DNA was diversified. If everyone had the same DNA, the same immune system, the same everything, they all would have died. It would have wiped out the entire tribe. So this is why Mother Nature makes us, and you know what? I think this is in the book Sperm Wars. I haven't read this book since college, okay? It's been 25, maybe 30 years. So Mother Nature actually knows what she's doing, and you got to understand, Mother Nature takes over her body. I am telling you, you think it's a discipline thing? It is not. It is a hormonal thing that takes over like an alien. So the book Sperm Wars, essentially, it does talk about how her hormones will shift around the 5th and 7th year, because by the youngest child is tall enough and strong enough to walk to keep up with mommy, and then hide when mommy needs to go and hunt. Because if a kid's crying, well, a wolf or like a coyote or whatever's going to hear it. It's going to come and get it. It's going to eat it. So by the time kids can walk, keep up, and is smart enough to shut up and be quiet, that's when mommy can walk away from the caveman and can hunt and forage and feed, herself and her kids on her own. Now here's the interesting thing. As we move forward and women got the pill, and then there was what it was called suffrage or whatever, women's rights, like in 1918 or whatever, that kicked in. And then women got more freedom. Now they could go to college. Now they could get better jobs. Now they could pay for their own apartment. Now they could pay for their own transportation. So now they're getting freedom. In the 70s, when they came out with the pill, now not only did they have financial freedom, they also had freedom over their own body. So now they could take control of when they got pregnant and when they didn't. And at that point, that's when divorce rates completely shifted. It went from 80% of the men initiating divorce to now, in the 90s, 80% of the women plus are initiating all divorces. So what became really famous was in the 80s was everyone was talking about, God, the divorce rate's horrible. 50% of all people get divorced in less than 2 years. Generally, people would date for 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 years, and then they'll get into a relationship, right? Well, that's about 5 years. That's the 7-year itch. And that's what Sperm Wars was saying. Like generally around the 5th year or so, 5th to 7th year, the hormones start to shift, and boom, she's gone. Now, all I'm saying is now that women have their freedom, their hormonal system is kicking back into where, hey, this is the way we've always been from the caveman era on. Do you think a caveman stuck with the same woman for the rest of his life? Hell no. He probably stuck with her for 4 or 5 years and said, fuck this, and he probably went and chased another cave girl down and, well, did the dirty deed. Now, to wrap this all up, to summarize this, the only other thing is learning how to fulfill a woman's needs. And now here's the thing, a lot of guys think, or meet a woman's needs. Yeah, you mean sexually, I got to learn better sex techniques. No, that's not what she's talking about. She's talking about emotional, fulfilling her, like making her feel whole and complete. This is what I teach in my course, Crack the Female Code, okay? Learning how to do this. This is the number one thing that women want from men. So when you guys get into the 7-year itch thing between 4.5 to 7 years, when her hormones are starting to shift, the only way, if there's any chance of keeping a woman, is knowing how to do this. Because here's the deal. If she leaves you, she's going to realize other men don't know how to do this. In fact, she already knows. Once you do it, she's like, holy shit. If she were to leave you, she would leave everything that she'd ever want in the world that women talk about in poetry and romance novels. Like, this is what it's all about. She's going to look and hunt and be like, other guys don't do this. She's going to be like, holy shit, I made a huge mistake. Here's the other thing you have to understand. These other men that they're having kids with, getting married to, they're just, if you've watched my last 3 or 4 videos, I've talked about this in depth, how the male language, the male left brain, linear, external brain irritates the living crap out of women. They just put up with it. When their hormones kick in, like when she was on the pill, it's like it kind of numbs it. It makes everything wonderful and blah, blah, blah. But after the hormones kicks off, that's going to irritate the shit out of her. But if you're this guy that understands about being emotionally grounded, doing the internal language, she's going to want to be around you. If not, she's going to be like all the other women. She's going to leave you. Besides, even if she does leave you, with these skills, you can pick up on women just like that. I am telling you. Here's the number one thing that happens with men. When they get really good at this and they start dating more and more women, they're like, why am I putting up? Because here's what happens. Women make guys put up with shit, especially the modern women. And after a while, you're like, yeah, When you realize, like, why would I put up with her shit when I could date this girl over here or that girl over there or that girl over there, you start to realize, wait a minute, I have options now. I don't have to put up with her shit anymore. So all of a sudden, you went from this guy that had one girl, you're a state champion in boxing, you're making $300,000 a year or more, blah, 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 and your girlfriend or wife treated you like absolute shit, to all think, wait a minute, I have other options. I have an unlimited amount of options of women that I could meet, talk to, seduce, romance, melt their hearts, fulfill them emotionally, and all the stuff that women want. And I'm with this girl that's let me tell you something right now. When I got good at this, I stopped putting up with my Asian girlfriend's bullshit. I was done. And I'll tell you one thing. I remember when I went out with a girl, I hadn't dated for a while. It was kind of on this, it was actually after her and I broke up. A therapist told me, like, you need to be single for a year. Not single, but don't date, don't this, don't that. And she goes, you need to reconnect with yourself energetically first before you start getting back into the dating pool. I was like, oh, okay. And I actually did it, and that extended past a year, quite a bit actually. And then I remember when I went on my first date, this girl was disrespecting me at the table, and before we even ordered, I'm like, do you always talk to guys like this? She goes, yeah, why? She was cocky, she was arrogant, and I'm like, fuck this. And now before, I would have been like, hey, could you be nicer? Or I would have tried to make her happy. They call it simping. And she did it one more time. I said, look, if you do that again, I'm going to leave. And she kind of looked at me like, yeah, sure, okay. Well, and I said, if you keep disrespecting me, I'm going to leave. So she did it one more time. I grabbed my coat, got up, walked outside quietly, got in my car, and I left. When I got home, my phone rang, my cell phone, and she goes, where are you? Are you still in the bathroom? I'm like, I'm at home. So then I went on another date, and it was our first date. We went out to get some dinner. It was at my favorite place. It was P.F. Chang's. I love that place. And same thing. This girl was rude to me. She was disrespectful to me. And I'm just like, look, is this your personality? Are you just going to be rude to me? Because if you do it again, I'm going to leave. And she didn't believe me. So she started being a smartass and said a couple other rude, disrespectful things. I didn't even say anything. I just got up, walked out, and now the door, by the way, is on the way it goes past the bathroom. So she assumed I went to the bathroom. Well, I'm driving on my car on the way home, and my phone rings. I'm like, hello? She goes, are you still in the bathroom? She goes, where are you? I go, I'm on the highway. I'm going home. She goes, no, you're not. So I put my phone out the window. I go, you hear that? That's the fucking wind. She goes, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I told you, don't respect me. Don't disrespect me. Here's the deal. Your confidence goes up. You do not put up with any girl's bullshit. You're like, no, I don't have to do it, and I'm not gonna. Here's the deal. Okay, before this, I was terrified. Like I can't do that. I don't want to hurt her feelings, and I don't want to upset her. I was so worried because I was so fucking desperate. I'm like, fuck that. She's not worried about hurting my feelings. She don't give a shit. For the first time in my life, I walked away from a beautiful girl, then another one, and I felt good about it because I knew I can go get another one. When you have this power, your life changes. Not only did I stop putting up with women's shit, I stopped putting up with anyone's shit. Whether it was at work or whether it was at a store, everything just changed. This is social power. Alright, that's it, guys. Thank you for listening. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment. And to support this channel, go ahead and buy my book, Cracked Female Code. I promise you that book is going to be enlightening. It's going to change your life. Remember, we have some coaching time opening up at the end of this month, August, and into September. I'm also going to do a seminar training. It's a 6-day training. It's going to be out here in the San Francisco Bay Area.